Property bubble, cash crunch, ghost cities, Ponzi scheme, financial crisis. These are just a few of the negative epithets used in recent months to describe the Chinese economy. Some are exaggerations, but all derive from one basic truth. China's growth relies more than ever on debt. Until 5 years ago, China was like any healthy economy, with some debt, but not too much. But it lost its debt inhibition in late 2008 when the global financial crisis erupted. With growth slowing sharply and 20 million people losing their jobs overnight, the government unleashed a giant stimulus that was powered almost entirely by bank loans. The debt genie was out of the bottle, and since then, stuffing it back in has been extremely difficult. There are signs that China's debt-fueled model of growth is now running into trouble. Exhibit A are the balance sheets of local governments. Technically, they're not allowed to borrow money, and yet they've become some of China's biggest debtors. Analysts estimate that their debt is now 20 to 40% of GDP, up from next to nothing 5 years ago. How has this happened? Through a simple swap. Local governments have taken land and given it to companies they own. These companies have then used the land as collateral to get loans from banks, eventually selling the land to property developers. It's been an easy way to obtain financing, but it means local governments have taken more and more land and fueled bigger and bigger real estate developments, even in poorer parts of the country, like here in the city of Guiyang in the southwest.
This, when complete, will be China's biggest real estate development at more than 18 million square meters. How big is that? Well, it's about 7 times the size of London's Olympic Park, 5 times the size of New York's Central Park. It aims to have 350,000 residents, or more than 1 in every 10 people living here in Guiyang. It'll have 31 bus lines, 10 shopping malls, 8 schools, 6 large parks. And it was all made possible by the land for debt financing model that has underpinned the development of China's cities.
In terms of sheer scale and ambition, the Garden City property development is amazing. The only problem is that there are several other massive residential communities all being built at the same time. There may be lots of people who want to buy homes, but there's not enough to fill up all the properties that are being built.
卖完的话，应该是70%-80%是卖完了，不过是没有人住，因为人很少嘛，没有商家敢来嘛，因为新开的楼盘它价格更低嘛，因为它是一手房，比如说就3000多就可以买1个平方了，所以很多人都去买那边，所以这边的价格就要跌嘛。你去这个周边看，很多地方都在盖楼盘。 所以现在这个房价肯定涨不了。
These troubles are beginning to expose the risks in China's chain of debt. In Guiyang, the government has relied on a city-owned investment company to transform land into debt, into financing for infrastructure development. But with the property market slowing, land sales have suffered. The city investment company has struggled to raise new debt and to pay back what it's already borrowed. In Pianpo, a village north of the city, the company started building a highway, but was unable to complete it because it ran out of funds. Because of the unfinished construction, villagers have been cut off from running water for nearly a year. Rubbish is also piling up on the streets of Pianpo. It's just one example of how debt is starting to take a toll on China. Companies from shipbuilders to solar panel makers have dug themselves deep into debt holes and are now faced with painful restructuring to survive. China's overall credit to GDP ratio shot up from 130% before the global financial crisis to nearly 200% today. That's a dangerously fast increase in debt in a very short space of time.
So long as China has grown incredibly quickly, it's been able to outrun its debt. But ever-increasing amounts of debt have fueled that growth. With the economy now slowing, it's becoming harder and harder to paper over that debt. There's plenty of tinder, lots of fuel. All that's needed now is a spark. Simon Rabinovich, Financial Times, Guiyang.